Howdy folks, Owen from EMF here with another episode of EMF TV. I believe it's episode 13 and I'm honoured and privileged to have Natty, Nolan, Donnacha, Cregan and the NBFI under 24 natural bodybuilding champion of Ireland. We'll just call him Natty Nolan. And take it away, sir. Tell us a bit about yourself and why do you have so many names?
I don't know why I have so many names. Maybe my actual name, Donnacha, is just a bit too difficult for most people. I'm from Limerick City, so that's probably why I'm going to end up cursing quite a bit as I talk. It's just kind of my vernacular, so sorry to anybody out there if you get offended. You need to toughen up a bit. Basically, I'm young. I'm only 22. I work in a gym. I'm one of the head coaches of City Gym Limerick. Run my own little bit of a coaching company myself. I grew up being really fat. Didn't like being fat, so I got into bodybuilding, and kind of the rest is history in the making, we should say.
So could you tell us a bit more about kind of City Gym and what they do and who they help and kind of how you fit into that?
So City Gym, for anybody out there that knows us, they probably know us as one of the strongest gyms in the country. We have over 42 competitive members, I think, now in the Irish Powerlifting Federation, which is just whopping for any powerlifting club. We specialize. We're not like a typical public gym. We specialize in personal training, and that's kind of where I fit into the fold as a bodybuilder. Most of my work would be one-on-one with clients. I have my own strength groups and stuff like that of competitive lifters as well. And basically, I also just assist them with the day-to-day running of the facility and making sure nobody dies. That's kind of my number one rule.
Preserve life. Very good. So, the type of clients you work with, why do they come to you, and kind of what do they look for when they're starting out?
Type of clients I kind of deal with would be your usual. A lot of them general population, which is what I love. Some people are really into the performance and stuff like that, but I love working with just everyday people, because a lot of everyday people, they were like me. They had not a notion about lifting when they start, and I love getting to educate them and build them up, and more so importantly, develop their love of lifting and getting stronger. Most people would come to me for, say, your typical sort of thing, and I know you probably know yourself, a lot of people are kind of self-conscious about their body image and stuff like that, and kind of the first thing with any client, I just try and put that to the side. I don't think, and it's funny coming from a bodybuilder, I don't think training solely for physique is really that fulfilling, and I train most of my clients like strength athletes, because generally the stronger you'll get, the better you'll feel about yourself, the more powerful you'll feel about yourself, better confidence, as well as it's going to come and coincide with physique changes, which is their initial goal, but getting into somebody's mind and flipping it to not so much worry about their physique and chasing kilos on a bar, that's what really excites me. And especially just what I've seen is lifting can turn a human's life around. Like, certainly it turned my life around. If I didn't start lifting weights when I was about 16, 17, I'd probably be extremely overweight or in prison or dead, to be honest.
Right, that escalated quickly. So, and like going back to something you just said, you from the time I've only known you, you seem like a pretty confident, pretty self-aware young man. Were you always like that?
Yeah, I think I was always confident, and I've really just got to thank my parents for that. They raised me with a lot of confidence. They never told me that something wasn't possible. If I wanted to do something, they would tell me, go do it then. So I was very lucky that I was raised in that upbringing. And, as a kid, I was always in speech and drama and stuff like that. So, that's going to give you a lot of confidence. And I think a big thing of it was when you grow up as like an overweight teen and stuff like that, you kind of you're forced to be a really confident person. You're forced to be very sociable and stuff like that because you feel like shit about yourself in every other facet. So you're going to be that nice, friendly, funny, fat kid. And I think as I guess my physique's improved, I can still carry that mindset, just, you know, with a lot less body fat.
Nice. That's a great way of thinking about it. Do you find, or have you found, that your journey from that child 15, 16 to now is quite useful in your ability to relate to the clients that you meet that may never have been in a gym in their teens or even their 20s?
Yes and no. So I think it does help them a lot to relate with me, especially if they are a big weight loss client, because obviously when they initially walk in the door or I meet them for their first session, they don't know any of my backstory and stuff like that. And then when I mention I used to be fat, they're like, no way. And then I have to run up to my desk here and grab the picture that I keep on my desk of when I was quite overweight. And they're amazed. And I think it does kind of allow them to trust me a bit more, that I understand what they're going through. So in that way, it does really help. Where it can be a bit of a hindrance is it gives me an awful lack of sympathy and empathy to the client if they complain or if they're just, for lack of a better term, being a little bitch. I'm like, you know, cop on, like, you know, it's completely possible. If they don't see that end goal and they don't, you know, see it in 2020 vision, I'm like, come on, you know it's possible. Just go and do it. You know, I can give you the plan. I can tell you what to do, but it's up for you to dig deep and go for it and go in it wholeheartedly, rather than just kind of half-assing it and thinking that I can do all the work for you. So in a way, it does help the client kind of trust me and trust that I know what I'm doing because I've had to do it myself. But it will cause a bit of a hindrance just in my own mentality that I have very little sympathy or empathy for somebody who is overweight. Even though you think I would have it because I was there, to me it's just like, get up off your ass and go do it.
Sure, absolutely. Go. Yeah, it's definitely a balancing act. You have to be grateful and empathetic that they're there in front of you, but they're there sometimes for a kick in the arse. They mightn't even tell you, and it's what they want, but it's up for you to know when to drive or when to maybe park every now and again.
That's exactly it. Like, funnily enough, I had a client recently enough just turn to me in a session and just go, she's from Brazil, so I'm going to do an awful accent. She just goes, Dons, you're not nice. And I turned around to her, and this will kind of give you an insight of what I'm like with my clients. The fuck you mean I'm not nice? What's wrong with you? I'm lovely. And she corrects herself, and she just goes, no, you're a very, very nice man. It's just you feel no sympathy. And that's because to me as a coach, it's not my place to have sympathy for you. It's my place for you to fulfill the plan that you need to execute on.
Absolutely. That's it. Like, it's our scope of practice, and I guess our strengths. If you're that type of a personality, being genuine to the client, they'll respect that, rather than if you're trying to mollycoddle them or just kind of enable them along the way.
Exactly. Like, you know, we're here for results, and I'm going to push a client as far as I can in order to achieve them results. Like, I'm probably making myself out to be a really bad person right now, but of course there are going to be days where pushing them that far isn't possible, where, you know, they've just had a shitty day at work, or they haven't eaten enough, they haven't slept enough and stuff like that. And those are things that, you know, as an experienced coach, you do pick up on, and you know when to pull away from the pedal. But if somebody's sitting there and they have the energy to do it, but they're just in here too much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to have sympathy for you because you're in here. I'm going to tell you, get out of there, get under that bar and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have them in City Gym as well. Some people call them dowels or like sticks. I call it a teaching implement that sometimes I need to break
I don't quite
out.
get to go that far.
Maybe with
a
a client you've had for a while. But I might threaten it. I'll get my teaching implement. But so when people come to you from, let's say, a very uninterested background, or they're not very educated on nutrition or training, what are some of the misconceptions that you seem to be battling time and time again?
I think the main one is going to be it's the first thing people say, and like when they come into City Gym and you walk them through the doors, they're like, no treadmill or something like that. So that's kind of the first one, in that you don't really need to do cardio training. It will have its help and stuff like that, and it's actually something I'm looking forward to doing in the off season. As I said to a client, it sucks being like 5% body fat but feeling really obese and overweight and unhealthy in general. But yeah, it's like there's a road for running. You can get a bike, you can cycle places, and to me that as well would be a lot more interesting than sitting on a spin bike or being on a treadmill. So yeah, one would be cardio for weight loss or fat loss as the most effective means. Other ones then is just poor dietary habits and stuff like that. Like people obviously, they never take in enough protein as they need. And just kind of the big one is, especially with me, because I work with quite a lot of female clients, would be, is lifting weights going to make me bulky, or I don't want to get that strong because I don't want to look like a big power lifter. Whereas, especially in powerlifting, it's a weight class sport. You could have a 52 kilo girl, like one of my competitive lifters now, Karina, she's 52 kilos, absolute little whippersnapper, just lean to the bone, super strong. And, if I was to put her in front of any prospective clients, they would never peg, really good power lifter on her, because she's small, she's petite and all of that. Whereas that's what I kind of want to get across to all these clients and stuff like that is, yeah, you can be really strong, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be, a super heavyweight or anything like that.
Absolutely. And do you feel like the tide is turning on that the females there, as it was still said in some places, the females are kind of migrating into the man's section of the gym? I guess in City Gym, there's only the man's section. There isn't like the ladies area with the treadmills.
It's all unisex here.
Yeah.
But yeah, like funny you said that. One of my clients actually, she'd actually be more physique focused and stuff like that. She showed her program to a friend of hers who was a competitive bikini athlete, and her friend just goes, "Oh my God, you train like a man." And that's one of my big things, and one of my big missions with what I do is to get rid of that stereotype of, you're getting strong, you're not doing, giant set after giant set after giant set, which is going to be ineffective because you're a woman, It's about getting stronger. It's about, men and women, we're pretty much comprised of the exact same stuff. Yeah, there's slight hormone differences and stuff like that, but the training is pretty compatible.
Absolutely. And I think the stereotypes that are associated with some of the terminology, like if you ever mention the word bulk to a female, and you could mean strength and hypertrophy, they're almost like running away from you. And the same with cutting, that like cutting is like a sore, painful experience. And I guess that's kind of our fault that we don't realize that the people we're talking to kind of maybe don't live in our bubble. where we understand all the terminology and know it's interchangeable. They just see kind of red flag, red flag.
Yeah, and like I think that's the big thing and the most important thing for people as coaches to do is, don't just be like, oh, you're going on a bulk. Explain that we're going to take a period where we're going to try and gain some mass, because more lean muscle mass, although yes, you're going to gain a little bit of body fat through the progress, afterwards, when we go into a dieting phase, you're going to look way better with that additional lean muscle mass than you would if we just kept dieting down. Because if you just keep dieting down, I've worked with people that have come from other coaches and stuff like that just had them dieting down for long, lengthy periods of time. You can see it in them that they're just drained, they're fatigued, they don't have any strength there. They barely even have the willpower to exist, and
Absolutely.
That's not what training is about. That's not what lifting should be. Lifting should be something that complements your life rather than takes away from it.
And do you see that I guess when people get into bodybuilding and maybe powerlifting to a lesser degree, that the line between health and fitness gets blurred, or even they're both separated, and that like a bodybuilding competition, so many people take it to unhealthy levels. Like, is it even possible to do it right? And I know you have come out of it successfully. So how have you kind of managed to do that? If there's any, let's say, physique or bodybuilders watching this, how would they figure that conundrum out?
The first thing I'd say is it's not even like the lines of health and fitness get blurred, and especially for myself and it's a funny thing that I'll always say to clients, and that's why I push them more towards a strength sport or something like that, where you can still control your body fat levels to a degree, is myself, what I do as an athlete isn't healthy. Shredding down to this low body fat, it's no means healthy. I choose to put competition and the success I want to build for myself above my health, and that's my choice as an adult to make, and that's the choice of your client to make, and that's actually why I push most people away from bodybuilding and physique sports, because they don't realize that they're going to have to sacrifice an awful lot for it, and not just in the likes of sacrificing foods. That's fucking easy. It's going to put stress on your relationships and stuff like that. Like, my girlfriend Jill goes mad now because, I can't take her out for dinner, which is something I love to do. We can't really go to the cinema or anything because I know I'm weak for nachos and cheese. So I won't
Can't you
put
just sit
myself
there
in
and
that
have a water,
position.
like?
And then there's also the whole health side of things where, for men, we lose our libido. For women, they'll lose their period. And all of that, and it's a decision you have to make when it comes to bodybuilding, whether, I believe that most people would be way happier if they do a dieting phase and maybe a long, prolonged, almost bodybuilding-like dieting phase, but they don't quite have the show as the end sight or even getting as competition lean as the end goal. Just getting a little bit leaner and stuff like that will do most people, and they will be happy. They don't necessarily have to pigeonhole themselves into becoming a bodybuilder, because a lot of the times you'll just end up burning out, and especially if you don't have that love for the sport. And that's the big thing, is the love and passion for bodybuilding itself. You need to have that, or you're never going to make it through it. I was lucky and I developed that from the age of 15, 16, because I realized, okay, these are the guys that I have to look up to, because I'm fat right now. I don't just want to be skinny, I want to be jacked out of my mind. And then that just kind of led up into me deciding to compete 2 years ago. And then kind of from then it was like, okay, I really enjoy this. I want to become the best at it, and I'm going to become the best at it.
And you did.
Juniors will suffice this year.
Sure, you're able to do it again next year, aren't you? You're junior for another year or two?
Yeah, I could do juniors next year, and that's kind of an undecided thing whether I will or will not compete next year. Just dependent on a big thing for me is I don't ever want to step on the stage looking like I did the last time. I want to be able to have time to go from, yeah, sure, this year I had the physique that won the juniors. Sadly, I was a bit busy and had dinner reservations, so I couldn't compete in the overall. But
these things happen.
Next time, whether I'll compete next year as a junior and take another trophy, or take even longer out and maybe come back in as a senior the first year and take the trophy that year.
Nice.
The second option almost sounds a little bit more appealing to me because, that's me going in essentially as a junior and beating a load of men, which sounds a lot more fun and a lot more fulfilling.
I can imagine. So yeah, look, that was kind of half answers my last question to wrap it up is what's the future for Natty Nolan in terms of just health, fitness, personal life and all that?
The future for Natty Nolan. So the immediate future is I've got a NABA WFF show in Vicar Street Sunday week, the 1st of October. That nice. I'll be competing in the men's fitness class. A little bit more of a Natty friendly class, as well as it's very old school sort of bodybuilding, which is my bread and butter. Then 6 days from that, I am competing here in City Gym Limerick at the first inaugural City Gym Open, which is an IPF meet. So I'll be competing in that as a 74.
In the same week. Brilliant. Bodybuilding and powerlifting in the same week.
At the start of the prep, when it got announced that we would be holding a City Gym Open, I turned to Gary and just said, no matter what, do not allow me to do this. And just as kind of time went on, it just kind of, the thought of me being a 74 and competing in powerlifting 6 days after coming off the stage from bodybuilding, it just kind of got a bit more appealing. It sounded a bit more ludicrous, and anybody who knows me is, if it sounds really fucking crazy and stupid, I will try it because I want to be the guy that gets away with doing it.
Sure.
So that's kind of the immediate future. Then, of course, a week after that, I'm going on holidays, thank Christ. So, yeah, it's 5 days away, chill the hell out. And then it'll just be back to work when I get back to Limerick, back to training. Actually, that's one of the things I'm looking forward to most in the holidays is having a hotel gym just filled with machines, getting pumps nonstop. Pump before breakfast, pump before lunch, pump before dinner.
You mightn't even make it to the gym with all that pumping, huh?
Yeah. But and then long-term plans is I have a couple little projects lined up at the moment. Some new coaching projects, kind of aimed a lot more towards the bodybuilding side of things, just because I kind of I'd like to liberate bodybuilding in Ireland. I think it's still very much set in the past. All you hear is people doing 3 sets of 12 of stuff and things like that, and realistically, that's not going to cut it, especially not as natural athletes. So, yeah, some cool coaching projects coming up, and then just keep tipping away.
Brilliant. Well, I wish you all the best with all those crazy competitions and the good holiday, and thank you for your time today. And once again, for anyone who was at the show in the Everyman, this was the guy that was shouting at me, abs and chest, and I must thank you for that, because I got the video of it last week and I needed to hear that at certain times as I was slacking and slopping. So I'll have to enlist your help again for the next comp.
We'd work together, and it's a big thing that I'd love to push in bodybuilding is kind of like a team camaraderie and stuff. You very much get it in powerlifting, and I love that. I always say, powerlifters are my people just because we get each other. And I would love to bring that more sort of teamness into bodybuilding because, you know, we all are there to do the same thing that we all love. And, you know, why hate on each other? And actually, a funny thing about that, when I was shouting that at you, there was a guy next to me, not a notion about bodybuilding or physique or anything like that. And his buddy was actually in your class.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he was like, what the hell are you saying? So I started explaining it to him, and then I'd shout something, and he'd be like, oh, he actually does what you tell him. It's like, well, yeah, he realizes that it's coming from a friend. And so then he started shouting things that I was saying at his buddy, who was in the back line not doing anything. So I was just like laughing my whole off. That was like the best thing ever.
A good moment all around, yeah. Sure, look, that's the way it goes. But look, thank you very much, sir, for coming on again, and hopefully we'll get all these words out. I'll put up a link to City Gym and your Instagram and all that in the show notes so people can follow you and find you. And yeah, Instagram, you're pretty vocal and pretty post on.
Yeah, I like rustling some jimmies on the old grass.
Yes, which is good. So look, I'll let you go back to things. Thank you very much now.
Perfect. Thank you, boss. All right.
Up soon.
Catch you later.
You can stay on the line there for 1 second and we'll get this all magic. And